Hi, everyone, and welcome to Finstep Asia's Thought Leadership Series. Today, we have with us Ms. Ines Murray, who's the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women. We'll be talking about women and championing the female economy, how it's one of the largest spaces in the world that hasn't been served properly. And we'll also talk about how fintech can impact this market. So, welcome, Ines. Good to speak to you today.
Thank you, Mashir. Very great pleasure.
Thanks. Ines, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you've been doing in the last few decades?
Sure. Thanks, Bashir. So I'm the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women. And before I took this role on, I worked at Women's Wear Banking for about 15 years, really looking at financial inclusion for women and helping to build that out across the network of microfinance institutions, so targeting the BOP. And before that, I worked in a strategic management consulting called Booz Allen in New York, where I developed strategies for consumer packaged goods companies.
That's great. Now, you've been heading the alliance for quite a few years now, and you've been leading their growth globally. So could you introduce to the audience about the women's economy as well as about the alliance, please?
Sure. So the Alliance is a network of large financial services providers that really have identified the women's market as a unique opportunity to grow their business. And when we look at the numbers, they're quite extraordinary. We have $700 billion revenue opportunity if financial services providers decided to actually take on this market in a serious way. Women are expected to control 72 trillion in wealth this year globally. We make up 47% of the world's labor market, and nearly 40% of the entrepreneurs around the world are actually female. So the global female economy itself is expected to reach 24 trillion annually this year. So it's a very large market, and yet one that is largely unserved. If we look at financial inclusion, we see that only 65% of women are financially included, and obviously the excluded tend to be in the lower income brackets globally. But even in the mid and upper markets, we see a very high level of customer dissatisfaction. So 74% of women globally are dissatisfied with their financial service provider. So on the one hand, you have a massive market that's growing, and on the other hand, you have a high degree of dissatisfaction with the current offer.
So how do you think the market can be served by fintechs? And we've worked on a report with you over the last few months. So how do you find fintechs impacting the women's market?
So it's interesting. So we have, as I would say, let's take a few of our members, mention them here. We have MasterCard, AXA, which is, of course, the largest insurance company in the world. We have very large banks, such as Banco Itaú, which is in 7 countries in LATAM. We have NatWest in the UK. We have Westpac in Australia. We have HBL Pakistan. So really, really large commercial institutions that all have found this market a unique opportunity. And what we found this summer when we did research with you at Finstep was that the fintech community has not really woken up to this opportunity. And so while we researched, actually, we got about 175 fintechs in the sample and about 20 investors. And what we found was that while 79% of the fintechs can actually, they do know what percentage of their customer are female, less than half of them know what the cost of customer acquisition is or the lifetime value. But of those that actually do know those numbers, we can see that women have a higher or equal usage rate of financial services through fintechs. We can see that they also have a similar cost of customer acquisition and a higher LTV, so lifetime value. And the reason they have a higher lifetime value is because women actually are the chief purchasing officer in the household. So once you get a woman to buy into your service, you're opening up the entire household economy. So while we do have a lot of good data from the fintechs on actually the core metrics, for instance, I think this will be of interest to the audience. The LTV to CAC ratio is 3-to-1 for those that know what it is. So for females, what you're getting is a really big upside if you stick with them and target them effectively. But unfortunately, too few fintechs are really realizing that opportunity at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, right? A lot of times when people think about the women's market, it's more looked at from a financial inclusion perspective. But the reality of it is that it's actually a high value market, right? Beyond the fact it's 50% or 51% of the world are women, it's a market that's not being served, and people are leaving dollars out there, right? And that's a big factor that fintech should look at. The LTV being higher, we've also seen how women return much higher, like 2 times of what value that men offer, as per a few other researches that have been done, right? So now I know we have been building towards this, and we've done this research to highlight about the business case and the value that is there for women. The next question is about how are we going to include fintechs? And I know the Alliance is now planning the Alliance Hack. So would you like to tell us more about how fintechs can learn more about this and actually get to do some action on it?
Sure, yeah. So we decided to help stimulate interest and actually provide solutions to this, to the female economy. We would set up a hackathon. So this is the first ever hackathon that's really targeting the female economy across all segments. So we're not just talking about BOP, as you said. It's hosted by the Singapore FinTech Festival on the Apex platform. Its applications are, you know, we welcome applications now, and we're asking for, we have 4 challenges, tracks. So we have banking, payments, wealth, and insurance. And again, this kind of reflects the kind of multi-segment approach that we're targeting. So in banking, it's really about identifying solutions to target those very small enterprises. So they're kind of semi-formal. They're too small really for the traditional commercial bank to find cost effective to target, and yet they're too big for the classic microfinance institution. So these are growth oriented, but they don't have all the paperwork that normal banks require. And why is that a segment important? Because, you know, over 50% of SMEs, for instance, in sub-Saharan Africa are run by women, and yet only 10% of them have access to credit. These are the people who are putting, you know, uniforms on children's backs. They're putting the bread on the table. We need to support them. They are the backbone of the African economy, and it's a massive space for any kind of fintech to get involved with. In insurance, what we're looking for is how do we build the resilience of those SMEs? Now, this is not just BSC, it's SME in general, so a little higher business size. But with COVID and all of the impact that that's had on businesses, how can we really insure for that? And what are the kind of financial and non-financial services that could support so women SMEs in that space? For wealth, we're looking at, you know, we're seeing wealth tech really target, let's say, the kind of quite wealthy, right, in the women's space, but there's a massive opportunity in the mass market, the mass affluent space. A lot of women are disconnected from their wealth, if you like. We're seeing a pension gap globally at around 40% between men and women. And we think this is a credible opportunity to really target and have either B2B opportunities or B2C directly. And finally, in payments, we're really looking at the rural woman who actually in many emerging markets is the majority of you know, the population that are still yet to be served. And how can payments actually add value? So as I say, this is more than just a product. This is about looking at that household and actually targeting and adding value. So those are the hackathon challenges. The prize money is 25,000 US. We hope that is attractive, but more importantly, perhaps, you know, you get the top 3 winners will get to be the finalists in MasterCard's Start Path. You will also get $25,000 of credits on Amazon, as well as a host of other in-kind contributions to really ramp up and support your business.
Yeah, I guess, look, it's on the platform. Apex is giving a membership as well. The Alliance is giving a membership for the winners as well. And I guess it's a brilliant opportunity for the fintechs to learn more about this. And considering that we have some very strong mentors coming in from different institutions, including the likes of Swift, AXA, MasterCard, Wifi, and others, NatWest, etc. I think it'll be quite pertinent and quite useful for the winners for the participants. So we'll be putting up the details of the hackathon in the link below, as well as in the comments. Do register. We are open till September 20th, so that's a time for you to look at joining and submitting your solutions, and then the hackathon will take place over the first week of October. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Ines. Really good to understand more about the economy, and excited to look at the hackathon followed by the annual summit in October that the Alliance is holding. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Bashir. Really appreciate it.